Ladies and gentlemen, I hope you're all having a wonderful day. Just wanted to quickly say thank you for all the support on my last video. I think we hit about 2K views, so that was amazing. And in this video, just quickly before we get started, I just want to shout out, we are going to be shooting for 425 views. So if we can hit 425 views on this video, I think that would be absolutely insane. Also, one more thing before we get started. There is a new free course inside Mega. And if you're not familiar yet, Mega, short for Make Ecom Great Again. This is a Discord community that I run with two partners, Sam and Bibster. And I just wanted to give you guys a quick shout out that we did just drop a brand new free course. So you don't have to pay for anything. We just wanted to do our part in making this a better community, helping you guys learn the basics of direct response and operations. But without further ado, back to the main topic of the day. So as you can see here, I have posted a little screenshot. My partner and I, Julian here, this angry guy right here, in the last 27 days, we have done $170,594.14 in sales. Pretty sick month for us, to say the least. And specifically in this video, I want to talk about how to find products that can scale to 6 figures fast. Now, I know I used two cringe words in here, two cringe guru words. First, find. The second one, fast. But it is what it is. Hopefully you guys don't leave the video right now. I really think if you watch this video, you will learn some pretty cool stuff about product research. And the reason why I wanted to make this video specifically dedicated to product research is because this is actually a different store than the one we talked about in last month's video. This is actually another store, another product that we've ran up at the same exact time as the other store we previously spoke about. And I'm just feeling super confident right now to talk about product research to help you guys figure out how you're going to find your next winner that's going to be scaling to 6 figures fast. So with that being said, like I said, I really do think if you stick around for this entire video, again, it might be another fat one, but I'm not here to just give you some rubbish. So I'm going to be really trying to keep this as high quality as possible. I really want to give as much value as I can during this video. So stick around. I think you won't regret it. And I really hope that you will take away something valuable regarding product research. All right, so let's move forward. Alright, so the first thing we have to go over is most gurus. Now, I'm not here to throw shade on anybody. I'm not here to start any drama. And I know that in some respect, product research is subjective, and what works for one person or their strategy might be different from somebody else's strategy, and they both might work. But in this video, I need to quickly go over what most gurus say, specifically the two extremes that most gurus have. That way we can just get started off on the right foot and build a good foundation for this video. Alright, so to kick it off, extreme number 1, and this is the most common extreme that you'll see most gurus have their philosophy behind product research, is that it's 99% or nearly 100% product. Product, product, product. That is the most important thing. Everything relies on your product, and if you're going to have success, it's because you picked a banger product. Now, don't get me wrong, the product is important, but at the same time, it's certainly not 99% of your success. There's so many other things that go into choosing a good product that we just wouldn't be doing product research justice if we tried to say that 99% or the most important thing is the product that you choose. It definitely is important. It plays a part. We'll get into it. But this, from my perspective, just giving you guys my opinion, is incorrect. Now, moving on to number 2. So this second extreme is slightly higher IQ, but personally I still think that there's some flaws with this thinking, and it would lead you to probably choose products that may not be the best fit for success. And this is kind of on the other side of the spectrum, which is product doesn't matter, just how you market it. So The other side of the spectrum with a lot of gurus is they're going to tell you that the product doesn't matter at all, it's just how you market it. Now, I think if these two gurus could get together and combine their methods, they'd be a lot closer to what I believe actually is the truth. But for some reason, it's always got to be an extreme here. And I just want to tell you guys that the product is important, the marketing is important, everything is important. Now, again, like I said, this is more of an extreme, and it just kind of takes away from all other aspects of the business. So for that reason, I'm also going to X this out. I really do think that, unfortunately, when gurus try and take these extremes, that it makes product research a bit more confusing than it has to be. So now I'm going to try my best to explain my philosophy or my thought process about product research, just to lay it out for you simply. And essentially what that is that product research is a reflection. Product research is a reflection. Well, what is it a reflection of? So let's put a little mirror here. Let's just pretend like this is a mirror, and this is you over here, and you're staring in this mirror. So you're staring and you're seeing yourself back in the mirror. So we'll just put you over here again. It's good. So we'll call this right here the product research mirror. And basically what I mean by this is that when you go and do product research, so you do product research. And basically the way that I like to see this, or the way that I like to think about this, is that you're essentially looking in the mirror. You're looking in that product research mirror, this one right here. And basically the reflection that you're going to see is a reflection of all of your skills and your overall understanding of what it takes to be successful in business. So you do product research, you look in this product research mirror, so that's essentially just you doing product research, and you're seeing this reflection of your understanding of success in business. Now, again, this is why I say product research can be subjective. What one person thinks is not necessarily wrong. It's just going to give away, in my opinion, like I said, their understanding of success in business. So a lot of these gurus, they're telling you 99% of it is the product, and maybe that's their understanding of success in business. Maybe they actually think, okay, if you pick the right product, then life's just going to be easy for you. That's what it is. And then another guru might think, well, it doesn't matter what product you have, it's just how you market it. And I'm not necessarily saying either of those are wrong. Again, I just want to make that clear. I'm not here to start any drama. I just think that these make it unnecessarily hard to actually find products. They're extremes, like I said. And it leads you to center your focus so specifically on one thing and just forget about everything else that plays a part in success in business. Another way you can think about this is kind of like a track that you would run on. So let's say, for example, this is the starting line, and this is the finish. And honestly, I think most people think that product research is like a starting point. And I tried to make a funny contradiction in my course by not putting product research as the very first module like almost every other guru does. But I think there's this common misconception that product research is a starting point, but product research is actually closer to the finish line. It's actually a result. It's an outcome of the skills that you've gained and your understanding of success in business. Again, when you do product research, hopefully this is making sense so far, you're looking in a mirror, you're looking in this product research mirror, and you're seeing a reflection of your understanding of success in business. You're going to be looking for products based on what you believe will make them successful. And hopefully I'm not spending too much time on this section, but again, like I said, when these gurus take these extremes of saying that the product is the only thing that matters or the marketing is the only thing that matters, then you're neglecting so many other parts of the business, and it's just going to lead you down a very slippery slope. So just to put this into simple terms before we move forward, product research is a result or reflection, we can also say reflection, of your understanding of success in business. Product research is a result or a reflection of your understanding of success in business. Hopefully that makes sense so far, and I hope that you guys can see how I've gotten to this conclusion, because I think it's very important to understand this concept right here before we move any further. I think that honestly most of the time people just don't even understand the concept of product research to begin with, so it's very hard to actually go and find a product if you don't even understand what the foundation of the concept is. So one more time before we move on. Product research is a result or a reflection of your understanding of success in business. So, what does that mean? We have to define this word right here, success. If we're going to move forward and we're actually going to find a product, well, we have to determine, okay, what does success actually mean? What compiles success? Again, like we said, most gurus will tell you the product is the only thing that matters for success. Oh, the product doesn't matter. It's just how you market it. Well, let's take a step back here. Let's not be so extreme. Let's think of this with a clear mind and really think, okay, what makes up success in a business? Let's think of all the things. And that's what we're going to do right here. The next step is we are going to define success. Now, I'm going to give you guys my understanding of success. And again, this is why I say it's a little bit subjective. I'm a little bit biased because I've been seeing some success lately, and I think that my definition of success, at least with ecom, is pretty accurate. But, of course, like I said, it's subjective, and I'm not necessarily saying anyone is wrong. I'm just going to be telling you guys what has worked for me. So, in my opinion, you need two things for success with ecom. And we're going to break these all down a little bit later. For now, we're going to keep this very simple. I just want to lead here with two simple factors that I believe determine most of your success with ecom. Number one, you have to be able to market effectively. You have to be able to market effectively. Now, why do you have to do this? Well, just to sum it up for you and make it simple, you have to be able to market effectively because you're selling to cold customers, or at least if you're paying for ads and you're trying to be successful with direct response, then most likely you're selling to cold customers who don't know who you are. So you need to be able to market effectively so that you can convert cold traffic into paying customers on the first time that they see your video. Now, the second thing, you have to be able to scale profitably and sustainably. Now, I know what you're thinking. These two things right here can mean a lot of different things to many different people. So, obviously, I'm going to be breaking this down a bit better so you fully understand how I'm going to be defining success and what I think actually plays into a product being a winner or having potential to be a winner. But for now, the definition of success, or the definition of a product that has potential for success, is the potential to market it effectively, and two, the potential to scale profitably and sustainably. So that means you make money, and you make money for a long amount of time. Your product doesn't just die out. It's not a trend, but we'll get into that. Alright, so let's move forward here. If you're going to market effectively, and if you're going to scale profitably and sustainably, then what are the two core skills that you actually need to do that? Because I think it's very important that we understand, okay, if we're going to market effectively and if we're going to scale profitably and sustainably, what are the actual skills that correlate to those two things so that we can actually start building on those, start getting better at those skills, improving on those skills so that we can actually find success. And so what I would say is, number one, again, a little bit subjective, I use VSLs. My partner and I, Julian, we market specifically with VSLs and direct response. So the skill set that I'm going to say we need in order to market effectively is direct response marketing. So if we are going to effectively market a product, then the skill that we need to have is direct response marketing. We need to be skilled in direct response marketing. And if we're going to be able to scale profitably, then what would be the skill set behind that? Well, in my opinion, I would say number two would be operations. I think you need to be a really high-level direct response marketer and a very high-level operator. If you can nail those two skill sets and then you go and look for products, well, you're going to be seeing product research through a completely different lens, a completely different reflection. You're going to be looking at it through your direct response lens. You're going to be looking at it through your operations lens, and you're going to be seeing things a bit differently than somebody who thinks that the product makes up 99% of their success. And so just to recap here a little bit, now that we know product research is a result or a reflection of your understanding of success in business, and now that we've defined success as a product that we can market effectively, as well as one that we can scale profitably and sustainably, and we've determined that the two core skills that we need if we're going to be able to market effectively and scale profitably and sustainably is a skill set in direct response as well as a skill set in operations, then we need to break each one of these skills down so we can understand exactly what elements play into each skill that we need to develop, and that's actually what's going to be helping us build our criteria for product research. I hope you guys are following along so far. Of course, if you guys have any questions, feel free to drop a comment, but hopefully I've done a decent job of explaining this so far. Honestly, it's a bit of a tough concept to break down and help other people to understand, especially with just how many myths are out there. But just hang in there. I promise it's all going to make sense. It's all going to tie together as we get towards the end of the video. Alright, so next on our list, like I told you guys, one of the core skills that we have to build here is our direct response marketing skill set. So if we're going to be able to look at a product through a direct response lens, if we're going to be able to look at a product and say, I can market that effectively, then we need to understand all of the skills within the direct response skill set that we would have to understand in order to be able to find a product that has the potential to be successful. So specifically for finding products or looking at these products through a direct response marketing lens, I'm actually going to be using the stages of awareness here. So we have 1, unaware, 2, we have problem aware, 3, we have solution aware, and then 4, we have product aware. So just to think about this simply, when we have a VSL, we're going to be taking customers through these stages of awareness. So depending on where they start at, it may be unaware, maybe problem aware, it might be solution aware, it might be product aware. But we have to be well equipped with our specific product to market effectively through each of these stages of awareness. So based on each of these stages of awareness, there's actually going to be some criteria that we need to see in order to see potential in a product. So let's just quickly recap on each of these stages of awareness and their understanding of problems or solutions in the market based on which stage of awareness they're at. So if we have a look at unaware, if a customer is unaware, what does that mean? Well, basically that means that they are unaware of the problem that they have. They might know about some symptoms like, oh, my back hurts, or oh, like my legs are a bit swollen, but they don't actually have a diagnosis. They don't know exactly what that problem is. But what we know is that it's a painful enough symptom for them to start thinking about it, for them to start thinking about wanting to fix it, and that's essentially how they start to lead themselves to problem aware. Now, when a customer is problem aware, this means that they actually know what their problem is. So instead of swollen legs, maybe it's edema. So edema is basically like the diagnosis for swollen feet or swollen ankles, I think, or just swollen legs or swollen whatever, I don't know. You're swollen, you have edema. I'm just making sure that I'm correct real quick. Okay, edema or edema, also known as fluid retention, a condition where excess fluid builds up in your body's tissues, causing swelling. Alright, so yes, if you have swollen feet, you might have edema. But anyways, in the problem aware stage, this customer would now know that the swelling that they have in their feet or their ankles is classified as edema. They know what problem they have. Okay, they identify with the problem. I have edema. Okay, great. Well, once they have the problem, then they can start looking for solutions to fix that problem. I suppose they can even do that at unaware, but they wouldn't really be educated on what to try. So usually they have to get diagnosed. Alright, so once they're problem aware, they start looking for solutions, and that's how they become solution aware. They start looking for solutions in the market. They start seeing what products are out there, maybe what procedures or treatments are out there. and they're just kind of weighing their options. They're seeing what would be the best way to actually get rid of this problem. And lastly, if they are product aware, that means that they somehow stumbled upon your product. That doesn't necessarily mean they bought it, but it just means that they had a look at your product, they know of it, but maybe they're not quite ready to purchase it yet. So unaware, we'll classify that as a symptom. Problem, diagnosis. Solution aware customers, we'll classify that as shopping. And if they're product aware, they're in your aisle, your aisle of the store. Doesn't mean they're going to purchase it, but they're there in your aisle. They might buy it, they might not. They're thinking about it. You get the gist. Alright, now you guys know I had to do it. I know you guys know who this man on the screen is right here. This is the legendary Roy Fur. And if you watched my last video, you should know who this guy is. Basically, he's the guy who explains message market match, which is a concept where he tells you that based on whatever stage of awareness your customer is in, you have a specific message for them that's going to resonate best. So for unaware customers, we basically need to diagnose them with the problem. In other words, we can say like help them identify. Diagnose or identify. It might not be something that you like diagnose them with, but it could be, I guess. I don't know. Probably shouldn't use that term in your ads, like, hey, you're now diagnosed with edema. It might not go well with meta ads, but basically, if they're unaware, then you're going to be diagnosing them or helping them identify with whatever specific problem they have. If they're problem aware, then you are going to be agitating that pain. Because the customer needs to know, why do I need to fix this problem now? Or they need to understand that they need to start taking the next step. You actually need to fix this problem. You need to start looking for solutions. If you don't, it could get really bad and XYZ could happen. It would not be a good day for you. Okay, so at this point, they know what their problem is. They're at the point where they want to start fixing the problem. Now, in the solution aware stage, when they're looking for solutions, your job again is to invalidate alternatives. And I know you guys are probably wondering, why is this guy babbling on about marketing if this is about product research? Well, I promise, again, it all ties in. Just keep watching. I promise it's all going to make sense in the end. But lastly, we have product aware. And in this stage, you really want to differentiate, basically, is a good word. You want to explain to customers why you are the best solution for them. Am I spelling this right? I think I spelled it right. Differentiate. And like I said, you'll be telling customers why you're different, why you're better, why you're the best option for them, whereas everything else didn't actually fix their problem. Okay, great. So based on these 4 stages of awareness and the message market match, we understand what message we need to send to each customer. We're going to be developing some criteria here. We're going to be developing some understanding of success. Because if you're going to be able to truly market effectively, then you would have to be able to take customers through all of these stages of awareness as effectively as possible. So you'd have to take them from unaware to problem aware to solution aware to product aware. And that is how I would essentially, again, define marketing effectively, is being able to take these customers through all these stages of awareness. So if we're going to take these customers through all the stages of awareness, then we need to make sure that whatever product we have is equipped with the tools to take them through each of these stages of awareness. I hope that makes sense. So for example, let's take the unaware and problem aware stage. I'd say they're pretty well tied together when it comes to developing this criteria for success of a product. But basically, if you think about it and you say, okay, well, customers maybe have symptoms or they have a problem that needs to be agitated, right? It needs to be agitated. They need to really believe that they need to fix this problem. So to make this simple, basically it just needs to be a problem worth solving. Okay, so that seems pretty easy. If we want to take them through the unaware and problem-aware stage of awareness, then we just need a problem worth solving. Now again, a problem worth solving is subjective and can mean a lot of different things to a lot of different people. But for example, just to give you like a very broad example, like knee pain. People want to fix their knee pain. It's painful for them. So basically, it just needs to be something that can be agitated to the point where somebody actually wants to fix it. Cool. So hopefully that makes sense. So we know now that if we're going to have success in the unaware and problem-aware stages of awareness, we need to have a problem worth solving. In other words, a deep pain or a deep desire, I suppose. And so when you look at your product, you want to say, okay, what is this actually solving? What problem is this solving? Kind of reverse engineer that, look at that problem and say, okay, is this a problem worth solving? We'll talk about it, I think, a bit later, but you can just do research and try and validate that people are actually wanting to solve that problem. So next we need to understand how to be successful in the solution-aware stage of awareness. In other words, how can we be successful in validating other alternatives? Well, one really great way that we can invalidate almost every competitor, and this is what Julian and I usually use, like this is a very, very strong criteria for us, is a hidden root cause. So essentially, if you want to be able to invalidate just about every alternative on the market, you basically have to find that the problem that you're solving, the problem that's worth solving, and people are maybe using solutions or there's solutions out there for it, you have to find that there's actually a hidden root cause or a hidden reason why all these other products are not working. So alternatives equals, let's just say, for example, masking symptoms, but your product fixes root cause. Awesome, awesome. So the first thing, again, that we need to do here is identify that this is a problem worth solving. So again, knee pain, back pain, any significant pain, even hair loss or pimples, acne, hyperpigmentation, stuff like that. Like I said, pain or a problem worth solving is subjective for different people. So definitely do your research there. But then you need to be able to successfully invalidate all the other alternatives. And like I said, the best way to do that is to find that the reason why all these other products are not going to be effective for customers, now be honest about this, do your research again, but you want to find that there's actually a hidden reason or a hidden root cause. For example, just to give you an easy one, knee pain. Okay, they're giving you prescriptions of pills, they're giving you these creams, these gels, whatever. That's not actually fixing the root cause. That's just masking the symptom. If you actually wanted to fix the problem, you would need XYZ. You would need some ingredient that naturally relieves that joint pain, whatever it is. Now, I'll actually give you guys an example of this really quick. I have an ad right here. I think they did a really good job of this, invalidating all the other alternatives without even having to say this specific product lacks on this product lacks on this. Alright, so let's just quickly watch this video and see exactly how they invalidate other alternatives by introducing this hidden root cause or this hidden mechanism of why your problem is happening.
Here's the shocking truth about your knee pain that most doctors won't tell you. Your knees are suffering from a hidden drought. That's right. Just like a garden withers without water, your knees are drying up from the inside out. And it's not just...
So, okay, now we know, alright, the reason why this is happening is because it's lacking some sort of fluid. It's going through this hidden drought. It's lacking some sort of hydration, and basically you can say, well, none of these other products are actually helping you get this hydration in your knee back. So that's why none of them work. But you see, our product, it actually has this mechanism that can help you get this hydration in your knee back. So hopefully that makes sense. All right. So now we know we need a problem worth solving, and we need to make sure that this product that we're going to be selling or this problem that we're going to be marketing for actually has some sort of hidden root cause behind why all these other alternatives are not going to work for these customers. Okay, next. So now that we've taken them through unaware, problem aware, solution aware. They know that it's a problem worth solving. They know there's some hidden root cause, and that's the reason why no other product is going to be working. Now we need to introduce the USP. Because again, we need to be differentiating, right? So if we're going to differentiate from all these other products on the market, well, we need to tell customers why this product is actually better, why this is different, and why this is really going to be the solution. We need to help them believe that what we're saying is true. So we need to have this USP, which can be either an ingredient. Let me zoom this in a little bit, by the way. Which can either be an ingredient, mechanism, anything that makes it different, anything about the product that is the reason why this is actually going to work. So for example, in this knee pain example, if they're saying that the hidden root cause is that you're lacking some moisture in your knee, then they would have to have some USP, some ingredient or mechanism in their product that actually helps for the customer to regain that hydration in their knees so they can be mobile, they can move around fluently again. So again, just to recap, you need a problem worth solving, you need a hidden root cause, and you need a USP. If you're going to market something effectively, those are three critical aspects that you need to be looking for in every single product in order to determine whether this actually has potential for success. Because again, you know that in order to be successful or in order to have success with a product, you need to be able to market effectively through these stages of awareness. And if you're going to be able to do that, then you need to make sure that there's a problem worth solving so you can navigate through the unaware and problem aware stages. You need to make sure there's a hidden root cause so that you can tell customers why all the other products or alternatives or treatments that they've tried are not going to work. And then, in order to navigate through this product aware stage of awareness and really help customers understand why your solution is the best one for them, then you really need this USP, which is going to be an ingredient or a mechanism that really differentiates you and essentially helps them understand why this is the specific thing or specific product that'll help them get rid of this hidden root cause. So I know that that might be a little confusing, but I hope that that makes sense. Maybe watch it over, take some notes, but just understand the three core things you need if you're going to be having a product from a marketing lens or a marketing perspective that has potential for success. It needs to be a problem worth solving, there needs to be a hidden root cause, and you need to have a USP. Those are three non-negotiables. Every time you're looking for a product, you have to have those. Okay, wonderful. So the next thing we need to do is now we're not only just looking through a direct response lens or a marketing lens at products, now we need to look through an operational lens. So like we talked about back here, the core skills that we need in order to find a product that can have success is direct response marketing and operations. So we just went through the direct response lens and we found out that in order for a product to have success from a marketing perspective, it needs to be a problem worth solving, there needs to be a hidden root cause, and there needs to be a USP. So now let's think about this from an operational perspective. Back here we determined that if we're going to have success with a product, we need to be able to scale it profitably and sustainably. So let's try and break that down over here under this operational lens. Alright, so let's start with that word profitable. Now, the one thing that I think a lot of people get wrong about this part or about a product having potential to be profitable is they think about COGS too much. They think about cost of goods. But this is actually not what you want to be thinking about. Because I know as much as everyone says, oh, you have to find low COGS, like if you can find a product with low COGS, that's the best way to be profitable. But that's actually not really the point. Now, of course, having low COGS or optimized COGS at least is great, but it's not really going to be the number one factor that determines whether or not you're going to have success from an operational standpoint. Rather, the main factor that's going to play into this is going to be perceived value. Now, what do I mean by perceived value? Basically, what I mean by this is people will pay a premium to solve X problem, okay? So people will pay a premium to solve X problem. They will pay a lot of money to fix whatever problem they have. If they have knee pain, they want to pay a lot of money for it. They're willing to pay up for it because that is a problem worth solving. Again, it kind of plays into the marketing if you think about it, because if it's a problem worth solving, like something that actually people want to solve, then it would make sense that they would kind of place a high perceived value on it and be willing to pay a premium for it. So that kind of does play into the unaware and problem-aware stages of awareness, but one really good way that you can kind of validate perceived value and make sure that people are willing to pay a premium to solve that problem is actually just look at other products in the market or other solutions in the market that are targeting that problem. So for example, if you look at something like hair loss, yes, you have all those hair oils. You have a bunch of different hair oils on the market, which probably sell for like $30 to $50. We can even get on Amazon here real quick and see that there's products selling for $56, $45, $72, $46 to solve this problem. And even further, you can probably just search up on Google and see like how much does it cost to go to a specialist to solve this problem, and that can give you some really good insight on the perceived value of a product. Alright, so now this is where COGS come into play. So how do you actually determine if people are willing to pay a premium to solve this problem? How do you actually determine if, okay, this checks out, it has enough perceived value for me to sell it? Well, you have to reverse engineer this a little bit. So the way you would want to do this is take perceived value and then subtract COGS from your perceived value. And if you can at least see like a 3.5x to 4.5x markup, then I would say it's pretty healthy perceived value. Because if you're selling for like 4x of your COGS, for example, then you'll have like a 75% gross margin, which gives you enough room to actually market with paid ads and not be shooting yourself in the foot. Hopefully that makes sense. So about 20 to 25% of selling price. So really you want your COGS to be about 20 to 25% of your selling price that you've determined based on the perceived value of your product. So let's say, for example, the hair oil, you find that, okay, there's some products selling for like $50, $60, whatever. Well, let's say I want to sell for $40. So if I want to sell for $40 and I know that that's in my perceived value range, then my COGS really shouldn't be any more than $10, honestly. That way, again, you're making about a 75% margin, and you don't have to limit yourself here. I'm not saying that this is like how you should be marking it up. Basically, just determine it by perceived value. If you can sell something for $100, your COGS are $5, I mean, that's a beautiful margin. And again, that's why I say you just want to make sure that people are willing to pay a premium to solve this problem. You don't want any problem that people don't really place any value on solving, that people aren't urgently trying to solve, because there's going to be no perceived value. People aren't going to be willing to pay more money to solve it. So hopefully that makes sense. Perceived value. Under the operations lens, when you look at a product or a problem that you want to solve, it needs to have perceived value. Okay. Next, again, like we said, the word sustainably or sustainable. So we know how we can scale something profitably now by choosing something that has high perceived value, a problem that's genuinely worth solving and worth paying a premium for. Now, how do we actually do that over a long period of time? How do we do that sustainably? Now, this part is actually pretty simple. I would just say evergreen. I think that's a good way to sum it up. You just need a problem that's evergreen, a problem that people will always have. So whatever that problem is that's worth solving. For example, I know a lot of people sold like tanning products during the summer. Personally, I wouldn't necessarily sell something like that because I just think it lacks on this component of being sustainable. I think it's going to eventually, die out, maybe be somewhat of a trend. So I'm trying to pick problems that are evergreen. I'm trying to pick problems that people will always have always had, and will always have until the end of time. And there will always be people there that'll be buying your products if you can make sure that you pick something that's going to be evergreen. Specifically, a problem, a market, again, knee pain is just a broad example, but people will always have knee pain. And this little simple indicator here is just going to let you know if it's something that you can sell sustainably over a long period of time and just create something more exitable for you. Alright guys, so we are pretty deep into this video, but we're getting there. I just want to quickly recap on what we've gone through so far, and then we'll keep going. So essentially, just to take it back to the very beginning, we understand that product research is a result or a reflection of your understanding of success in business. So in order to define success, what we defined it as is a product that you can market effectively and a product that you can scale profitably and sustainably. Those are the two factors that I would say determine whether a product has potential for success. Now, in order to market effectively and in order to scale profitably and sustainably, what are the two concrete skill sets that we can correlate with those two factors so that we can actually implement this into our product research? The first skill set is going to be direct response marketing. So if we're going to market effectively, we need to have the skill of direct response marketing. The next skill is operations or high-level operations, whatever you want to call it, just an operations skill set. That's how we're going to be able to scale profitably and sustainably. Now, within that direct response skill set, we've determined that in order to actually take customers through these stages of awareness effectively, there needs to be three things our product has that gives us the tools to actually market this effectively. So the first thing is a problem worth solving. You need to be solving a problem that is urgent, that people actually want to solve, that's actually painful for them, and they want to fix it. The next thing, in order to invalidate other alternatives or other products, treatments, whatever, you need to have some sort of hidden root cause. And that's going to allow you to easily tell customers why nothing else is going to be working for them, because nothing actually fixes the root cause like your product does. And then lastly, in order to get them to really believe you, in order to take them through this product aware stage of awareness, differentiate, help customers believe you, what you're saying is true, you need to have a USP, which is just going to be that unique ingredient or mechanism that makes your product different in a way that actually makes your product better and can really validate your product as the solution that's going to be best for these customers. Why? Because it proves that your product actually fixes the hidden root cause. Cool. Then just simply put, with operations, you need to be able to find a product that can scale profitably, and in order to do that, we just need to validate that this specific market, this specific problem is a high perceived value problem. People will pay a premium to solve this problem. Like I said, COGS are not quite as important as perceived value is, and really you just want to make sure that there's a nice healthy gap between the perceived value of the problem you're solving, or how much people are willing to pay for it, and the cost of goods that it costs to actually send that product out. Usually you want your COGS to be about 20-25% max of the perceived value that you can sell for. So again, our simple math here, if you have a $40 product, you would want to make sure that the COGS are not any more than about $10. That's going to give you a healthy margin to play with, to spend on ads, to spend on whatever, Shopify apps or whatever, and still make a profit afterwards. Then lastly, just to make sure that you can have a sustainable business, a long-term business, you just want to make sure that the product or the market you're selling to is evergreen. So if you're solving anything like knee pain, hair loss, beauty, skincare, anything, it should be pretty easy to determine whether it's evergreen or not. Just make sure it's not a trend or seasonal, and you should be pretty good to go there. Okay guys, so I'm kind of losing my voice at this point, but let's keep it going. So the next thing that we're going to go over is called technical criteria, or these are just the technical aspects. It's not really the core of finding success with a product or finding success with ecom, but these aspects are going to give you a little bit more wiggle room. They're going to aid you a little bit more in helping you just get a product off the ground. Hence why it's not fundamental criteria, it's more so technical criteria. And by this picture, you can probably guess what I'm about to be talking about. It's going to be things like the content, going to be things like cogs. So let's go ahead and just start writing a few things down. So really what I'm thinking about here is all the things that are just going to make it a little bit easier for me to get my tests off the ground. So for example, of course, like we all know, that's going to be content available. Again, if a product doesn't have content, is it impossible to test it? No. But is it going to be a lot harder? Yes, you might have to resort to image ads. You might have to start editing a bit earlier in the process, or maybe even film some of your own content. So content available is definitely going to be a plus. The next thing, and this is really just stemming from the philosophy that we go by when we're testing, and that's going to be angle variety. So we like to test about 3 angles. When we first get a test started, we'll try and test about 3 angles to determine exactly who the audience is going to be, or who the main problem we're going to target is going to be. So that is why angle variety is also a plus, a product that could potentially be marketed to several different audiences. For example, something like pumpkin seed oil capsule. Pumpkin seed oil can be good for a lot of things. Yes, it can be good for hair growth or hair loss. It can also be good for your bladder. It can also be good for your heart. So it can be marketed in several different ways, which again gives us a little bit of leeway, gives us some wiggle room to get this product off the ground. The next thing is going to be cogs / ease of sourcing. So if you're able to just simply find this product on CJ or with a private supplier, and it's a reasonable price, you know, it's within your KPIs for perceived value to COGS, that sort of gap that you need to fill there, then that's all good to go. But it's going to be, again, a little bit harder if you're having a hard time finding a supplier for it, if the COGS are not meeting those KPIs. Not necessarily that the COGS are too high per se, but that it's just not within that healthy range of COGS to perceived value. Hopefully that makes sense. And then the last thing that makes it a little bit easier in order to test and get a product off the ground is bundle / upsell potential. So both of those, if you can find them, that's definitely a plus. So like I said, these are not fundamental criteria. This is not what makes a product successful or not. This is what makes it easier to test the product and get it off the ground, so that you have time to get your own content, to work on the sourcing, to work with the supplier to get better COGS, or to find bundles, upsells, or potentially even create other products somehow that you would sell with your main product. But with that being said, these are very nice to have. These do help you to test a little bit more easily, to start off a little bit more on the right foot, especially this angle variety. If you're able to find content for 3 different angles, that's going to really help you pinpoint the exact audience that you're going to be selling to very early in the test, which is super important. Awesome. So we're not going to spend too much time on these. I think that these are the ones that you guys are a little more familiar on. If anything, these 3 criteria right here, the problem worth solving, the hidden root cause, and the USP, those might be the 3 criteria that really you take away from this video and start to implement in your own tests. But just so we can kind of build out filters here, I think that's the next step, right? We understand everything that's going to be necessary now in order to find a product that's going to have that potential for success. So now that we understand everything on a fundamental and even a bit of a technical level, let's just write down all the criteria then that we would need to actually have in order to, by our understanding, find a winning product, or at least a product that has that potential for success. Okay, so number 1, a problem worth solving. Cool. All right, you've got your problem worth solving. Number 2, like we talked about, hidden root cause. Okay, cool. Number 3, USP. So these 3 are really the fundamental criteria. So these are like the fundamental principles, the fundamental criterias that, like I said, I think get left out of quite a few courses, mentorships, whatever. These 3 are really the non-negotiables when it comes to products. And the next 4 that we're going to talk about, which are the more technical aspects, these are not quite as important. Yes, they help you get your product off the ground, but not totally necessary by any means. So 1, that's content. We'll do slash angle variety. Number 2, cogs slash ease of sourcing. And number 3, bundle slash upsell potential. Okay, and just like that, it's as simple as that. All right, we went through all of this. So we started back here at the gurus, and somehow we've made ourselves up to now building out our filters based on our understanding of success. So fundamentally, we need a problem worth solving, we need a hidden root cause, we need a USP, and then on a more technical side of things, in order to just have some ease of testing the product, we need a content and angle variety. So lots of content available, at least 3 different angles that we can market with and test. Cogs and ease of sourcing, so just being able to easily source this from a supplier, having those decent cogs in order to really price it based on that perceived value. And then bundle and upsell potential, which honestly every single product has. Like, there's not a single product that you couldn't find a way to bundle or upsell different things with it. It might just be a bit harder for some products. But 3 fundamental criteria, 3 technical criteria, simple as that. You could have just skipped like past an hour in this video and come to this part to understand exactly what the criteria are. But I think if you watch through the rest of this, then you probably have at least a better understanding now of how I got to this point. So hopefully this all makes sense. So now at this point, what we're going to do is we're going to take all of this and we are going to do a live research example. So based on these criterias that now we know we need to have in order to find a product that's going to have success or has the potential to have success, let's do some live research on Callow data and try to find at least one product that fits all of these criteria and that we can be confident in will actually have potential for success. Okay guys, cool. So I'm on Callow data now, and we have to start by creating our filters based on these criteria that we know we need in order to actually have a successful product. So let's try and do that. Now, of course, some of this might take a little bit of research on your own. There's not necessarily going to be any magic set of filters that you put it in and then the first product you see or every product you see is perfect. You may have to do a little research on your own just to make sure that things check out. But let's just try our best to implement everything from here into our filters on Callow data. So the first thing we need is a problem worth solving. So how would we maybe go about finding a problem worth solving? Okay, well, that's probably going to be in the category. So I know that beauty and personal care, for example, is a really solid category. I think health is also a really solid category. So these are all categories where it's problems worth solving. I'm sure there's other ones like pets, maybe pain relief, stuff like that, which I think is inside health. Maybe there's maternity kit, stuff like that. For the example of this video, let's just do beauty and personal care and health. Those are the ones that I'm most familiar with. So we'll click apply there. Boom. Now we know for a fact that if we search this up, most likely it's going to be a problem worth solving. Next, another way that we can also help to determine that this is a problem worth solving is by revenue, right? If we put something like over 10K revenue, well, if people are buying it, then they must be wanting to solve some sort of problem. There must be real demand to solve this problem that must be occurring. So I think another really solid way to judge whether this is going to be a problem worth solving would be putting revenue over 10K. That way we see at least some validation or some demand that people want to solve this problem. Cool, cool. So the next criteria would be a hidden root cause. Now, I don't think this is necessarily one where there's any specific criteria on here that's going to help you determine it. This will be more so research that we do on our own to determine whether or not there actually is a way that we could market this with a hidden root cause. Next, we have our USP. This is another one that once we start looking at product, we'll have a look and determine whether or not there's actually a USP or something that differentiates this product and is the reason why it's going to solve that hidden root cause. So these two we'll have to kind of research on our own. And again, this is why there's never going to be any perfect product filters that you can put on CaloData or anything like this in order to find a winning product. You actually have to kind of know what you're looking for a little bit for these two aspects right here. But as far as these technical ones, we can also definitely have some control over the content and angle variety when it comes to CaloData. So what we could do in order to find products that have content available is actually go to the creator number right here and just click over 200. Now another thing that I forgot to mention on here was actually going to be your perceived value, which kind of ties into the problem worth solving. But another really good way to just make sure that this product has really high perceived value is going to be making sure that the average unit price is above $20. So you can actually sort this on CaloData to make sure you're not seeing any products that are under $20, which would kind of be a good indicator that there's a low perceived value for whatever problem they're solving. Okay, great. So COGS and ease of sourcing, that's going to be something we'll have to do a little bit of our own research on, as well as bundle and upsell potential. But we may also find some products on CaloData that are bundled with other products, and that could certainly help us out. But I think as far as getting started, I think that this criteria is going to be as close as we can get, and so we're going to have to do a little bit of our own research when it comes to this hidden root cause, as well as this USP, as well as COGS, bundle and upsell potential. So let's go ahead and get started. Cool, cool. So one other thing, and I think that this is a way that maybe in a way this can help you find a USP, is actually sorting this by launch date, because sometimes products that were launched a little bit more recently could have a bit of a better USP than ones that are kind of older, right? Because they've just been around for too long. Nobody really sees it as a good differentiator anymore. So we can also sort this by launch date to ensure that we are finding products that were launched most recently, but we're not doing that to find some sort of recent up-and-coming trend. We're doing that to try and find USPs that are actually good differentiators and will help our products stand out. Okay, perfect. So let's just scroll a bit, and basically what I'm thinking just right off the bat is trying to find a product that maybe in the title here I can see that it's solving some sort of high value problem, whether that's acne, skincare, hair care, whatever it may be. For example, I see these NAD supplements, but just by knowing that these have been around for quite a while, I don't think the USP is necessarily there anymore. I don't really think it's something we can differentiate with. So let's just go to the next page. We'll keep looking here. Cool, cool. So we have this eye cream here, and it says advanced eye cream for dark circles, wrinkles, and puffiness. Obviously, we know that that is a pretty solid problem to solve. We'll open it up, but we would really need a solid USP here if we were going to actually sell this. So let's just see what they mean by advanced here and see if there's anything actually different about this product that would maybe make it work better or be the only thing that can work in the market. So we've got this peptide eye area treatment, caffeine, retinol, ginseng, but honestly this isn't really anything I haven't seen before. So while this product does seem to have a pretty good amount of content available, while it does seem to have pretty high perceived value, selling for $44 and seems to be small enough to where we would be able to source this for under like $10, I personally wouldn't sell it because I just don't really see the USP there. I think these are all pretty common ingredients. Cool, cool. So we'll just keep looking here. Cool. So I see another product here, and this is another one that I don't necessarily think I would sell, but I think that, again, we can see rosemary and cinchona. Okay, well, that seems like a pretty cool USP. It's selling for $47. I think that, there looks to be a lot of content available for this, 351 items. We have hair growth hack. We know that that's a really good problem to solve. So we're seeing a lot of good indicators to get started with here. And honestly, this wouldn't be the worst product to sell, but the thing that I don't necessarily like about this is that I think that the COGS to perceived value ratio just wouldn't really be there. Something like that, there's 2 bottles. Each of these bottles is 500 milliliters. That would cost like $20 or $30 to ship from China. So to only be selling for $47, I don't think there's much room for us to play with there. Considering it's a shampoo, considering we'd probably have to sell for like $100 to have a healthy margin on this, and I don't think anyone's going to be buying a shampoo and conditioner set for $100. So with that being said, let's just keep on looking here. Okay, so we have this No More Bumps exfoliating set for summer ready smooth skin, and I think that the main product might be these pads right here, and I'm seeing some really good indicators regarding this product. So the first thing I'm seeing right here is a really interesting USP. So this is red succinic acid peeling pad, and that is an ingredient we could do some research on and see why that would actually work compared to something else. So we can see here that red succinic can help with acne and inflammation, okay? So inflammation is going to be a key word there because obviously everyone knows acne, but I think inflammation is a really solid word we could come back to, and I'll explain why to you guys here in just a moment. Alright, so let's write this product down right here. Red succinic pads. Alright, so hopefully you guys can read this. You probably can't actually. This is supposed to say red succinic pads. I think I'm saying that right, but I don't know. So, problem worth solving. Okay, so in this case, the problem worth solving would likely be acne. I think that would be the overlying problem worth solving. Okay, so then what would be the USP? So USP would be red succinic. Cool. But now, don't forget, we also need this hidden root cause, which, if we just do a slight bit of research here, so we're just doing a little bit of research here, and we're seeing that this helps to control acne-causing bacteria. And again, we see right here, it inhibits the growth of bacteria like Cutibacterium acnes, which contribute to acne. So, what we can say here, obviously, this is just an example, so you'd want to do a little bit more research, but the hidden root cause could actually be, how do we spell this again? Cutibacterium. Cutibacterium. Cool. So we are solving the problem of acne. The USP is this red succinic, which honestly I've never heard of, so it seems like it's pretty secret. And then the hidden root cause would be this Cutibacterium, so a type of bacteria. So this is what's actually causing the acne. So with that being said, we look at every other acne product on the market and we say, well, every other acne product is just got some sort of ingredient that is just masking the problem, that's just treating the symptom. It's just got some ingredient that just gets rid of the pimple, but it never actually treats the root cause, which is this Cutibacterium. So again, this allows us to successfully get through the solution-aware stage of awareness and help customers to understand why nothing is actually working for them. And that would be because this Cutibacterium is what's actually causing the acne, but if you're not using this red succinate, then you can't actually get rid of this QD bacterium, and basically nothing is ever going to work for you because you're not treating the root cause. Cool, cool. So we also can come down here. We see that there's a ton of content. So there's 503 videos. And as I just scroll down here, I'm seeing a few different angles. We have dark knees. We have, I think this is like smoothing your pores out. We have acne treatment. We have some like bumps, stuff like that. So maybe if you're getting like bumps on your skin, inner thighs, like we have a ton of different angles to work with here. So we could potentially test this product for multiple different problems and see which audience would actually resonate with something like this the most. So we go to content, and this has about 500 videos plus 3 to 5 angles at least. Cool, cool. And then the next question that we ask is the ease of sourcing. Hopefully you guys can read that. It says ease of sourcing. So let's just go to Alibaba, for example. So we'll just search up these red succinate pads and we'll see what we can find. Cool, cool. So we see the stock product right here. So this seems to be pretty easy to source. I mean, we could obviously search this up on CJ, but I'm pretty sure with this low of an MOQ, with it being pretty prominent right here on Alibaba with a few different listings, I'm pretty sure we could find this pretty easily on CJ or just with any supplier in general. So for the ease of sourcing, I think that we can consider that pretty easy. And then lastly, bundle / upsell potential. And just by looking at this cover photo for this product, we can see that there's a cream, there's a peeling shot, there's, I think these are masks, and like a mitt that comes with it. So just in this photo alone, we can see 4 other potential products that we could bundle in to increase our average order value. So I would say there is lots of bundle and upsell potential. Cool. So that is an example of what I'm looking for when I'm actually doing product research live. Now, with all that being said, I will say that this is a Medicube product, and from a brand this big, you may not want to actually rip their products just because you may have legal issues, stuff like that. But just from like fundamental and technical aspects of products, this would be a great product to test because of that hidden root cause, because of that USP and all these other criteria that we talked about. Let's just run through this one more time. We have these red succinate pads. What's the problem they're solving? Okay, well, it's acne. It was also like dark knees and stuff like that, which are beauty problems, and again, those problems are subjective to each person, and I think that a lot of women, they like to clear up that acne, hyperpigmentations, bumps, dark spots, stuff like that. So definitely a solid problem worth solving. The USP, like we saw, is that red succinate. So that's the ingredient that we're really going to leverage in our ads to help us get through that product aware stage of awareness. Then we did a little research to figure out the hidden root cause, which is this QD bacterium, which is a type of bacteria that's actually causing the acne, and we know that every other product on the market is not treating this QD bacterium root cause, but it's just treating the actual acne. It's just masking the symptom. It's just trying to treat the symptom, but not the root cause. Then we have at least 500 videos with 3 to 5 different angles, so that makes it easier, very easy to source it, so again, that just makes it easier to test. And there's a lot of bundle and upsell potential, so again, that makes it super easy to test and start being profitable even on just 1 or 2 sales per day. So hopefully this makes sense for you guys. I would really encourage you guys to start trying to do some product research this way, or at least just try and go back in the video and understand how we got to this point. I know that this has been a pretty long video, and obviously, we've had to come to quite a few different conclusions to get to this criteria, but hopefully this all makes sense. I really hope that that product example gives you guys just a little more understanding of what I'm actually looking for when it comes to choosing products. And at this point, you would just test the product, see what audience or angle is resonating the best, and then move straight into VSLs, where you take the customers through the stages of awareness. And definitely refer to my last video once you get to that point, and that should help you to create VSLs and just market your way to success. So my voice is pretty shot at this point, so hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. I really do hope that this was valuable for you guys. If you made it to this point, I know this is like a crazy long video. I didn't expect it to be this long, but it happened. Like I said, there is a new free course in Mega. It's a little library of free crash courses that you guys can find in our Discord. There's 11 different modules, and we go through every single aspect of the ecom business model and give you guys about 30 to 40 minutes of sauce just to get you guys started. So with that being said, again, I hope that you guys enjoyed this whole video. I am now going to get back to running stores with my guy Julian right here and just enjoying the process. So feel free to join up in our Discord and shoot us any questions you might have. Thanks again for watching the video. I'm excited to see you guys in the next one, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.